U.S. Senator Roger Marshall of Kansas joins us now with a closer look from D.C. Senator, so good to have you with us today. What are some of the main highlights for producers? What all do they need to know right now?
Well, Tammy, good afternoon. It's great to be with you. It's an exciting day here in my office. It's like Christmas morning. We've been working on this for 3 years. So what we did is we put farm back in the Farm Bill. That when we released our Republican priorities today, we prioritized crop insurance and increased reference prices for those commodities. We've been trying to fight to get that increase on commodity reference prices for 5 years. So at least we've got it in our framework. There's no cuts in the SNAP program, so the Democrats should like our framework as well. And then the last thing I would mention to your listeners is we take some of those guardrails off of the conservation programs that agriculture uses. On the Democrats' prescription, they had just too many regulations, and Kansas farmers, for instance, could probably only use about half of the conservation program. So better crop insurance, better reference prices, and loosening up some of those conservation project opportunities. And lastly, I should add, is consistent funding for high-speed internet. So very proud of those as well.
Those are some highlights, and as you mentioned, you guys are really trying to put farm back in the Farm Bill. Let's go back and touch on two of the things you mentioned that Democrats had an issue with: nutrition and conservation programs. They have been sticking points in the Farm Bill, and Senator Stabenow has made it clear that she doesn't want any cuts. And do you feel that this framework that you guys have come up with will enable a consensus with the Democrats?
So absolutely, there are no cuts in our SNAP programs. What Senator Stabenow is actually wanting are steep increases in the SNAP programs. Listen, we went from $60 billion a year for the food stamp programs to $120 billion a year from last Farm Bill to this Farm Bill. We've doubled the funding baseline for the SNAP programs. That should be plenty. There's lots of great jobs out there. I don't want anyone to go hungry. You know, in addition to the Farm Bill, when we put all the food programs together, this federal government on the taxpayer's dime is funding $180 billion worth of food programs. So we think there's plenty in here for SNAP. There's no cuts in our program, but we find enough money to fully fund the crop insurance programs and raise the reference prices.
That is good news. Now, you also mentioned an increase for funding and rural development. What are the highlights there?
Yeah, well, certainly the high-speed internet is top and foremost to me. The consistent funding for the next 5 years, those broadband funds will be continued, trying to get the speeds up to 100 over 100. Again, your listeners out there for precision agriculture are downloading volumes of information every day. So we continue to be good stewards of the land. So we're growing more with less, and it's that data that allows us to do that for the precision agriculture. There's increased funding for mental health for farmers, as well as rural hospitals, that type of thing, rural housing as well. So the typical things that you would look for from a rural development standpoint from a Farm Bill, those are still kept intact as well.
Good things that can keep those rural communities strong. So what's next in these negotiations? Where do you go from here?
Yeah, Tammy, I would liken it to this, is that you go out to buy a new combine and you know what you want on it and what type of header you want. And we've agreed on everything but the price. So our Democrat friends, we both agree we need good crop insurance, that we need reference price increases, that we need funding for SNAP. And now we got to kind of move those pieces around where we get the same amount of money that we could agree upon. I'm afraid this will probably be a lame duck decision eventually. I think that the Democrats' priorities continue to be a little bit different than ours. They want even more funding for SNAP. They want to put tight guardrails around the conservation programs. If we would follow their rules, Kansas livestock and dairies would be put out of business because of the air quality controls they want to put on the constraints on that particular industry, as well as those raising hogs. So we still got some negotiating to do here, but we'll try to get it done sometime this year.
I know you guys will. So keep us posted on everything you guys are doing, and we appreciate your efforts on the behalf of our farmers and ranchers. That's U.S. Senator Roger Marshall.